Zara slammed the phone against her ear, pacing the room. Tund, pick up. Pick up. The call clicked. A woman answered. Stop calling this number, the voice said, sharp and irritated. You're ruining our night. Zara froze. Her steps stopped mid-motion. Her fingers tightened slowly around the phone as if she might crush it. Who is this? She managed to whisper. A soft laugh came from the other end. Confident. Intimate. Possessive. You should be asking yourself that. The line went dead. For a second, Zara didn't move. The world around her felt like it had been muted. No sound. No breath. No thought. Then it hit. Not like a wave. But like a drop. Heavy. Final. Irreversible. She called again. Switched off. Her lips trembled, but no tears came yet. That was the strange part. She had expected anger. Pain. Something loud. But what she felt was quiet. Too quiet. She slowly lowered the phone, staring at the blank screen as if it might suddenly explain everything. 7 years. 7 years of marriage, of building a life, of believing she knew the man she married, and it all collapsed into one sentence from a stranger. You're ruining our night. Zara inhaled slowly. Then she stood up. Her body moved before her mind caught up. She grabbed her bag, slipped her phone inside, and walked out of the house without turning back. The night air hit her face, but she barely felt it. She dialed Kunnel. Tund's friend flashed across the screen. He picked up on the second ring. Zara. Everything okay? Her voice came out steady. Too steady. Yes. I just can't reach Tund. Do you know where he is? A pause. Ah. I think he mentioned a meeting, Kunnel said, his tone shifting slightly. Why? Zara leaned against her car, her grip tightening on the phone. Which hotel? Silence stretched longer this time. Zara, I don't think. Which hotel? She repeated, her voice still calm, but firmer now. Kunnel exhaled. There's a place in Woos. But I'm sure it's just, she ended the call. No more explanations. No more pretending. The drive felt unreal. Streetlights blurred past her. The road stretched endlessly ahead, but Zara barely registered it. Her mind was replaying everything, late nights, missed calls, the way Tund had started smiling at his phone more than he smiled at her. All the signs she had buried. All the moments she had chosen to ignore. She parked outside the hotel. For a moment, she stayed inside the car, her hands gripping the steering wheel tightly. Her reflection stared back at her from the glass, calm, composed, almost detached. She didn't recognize herself. Then she stepped out. The lobby was quiet. Too quiet. The kind of quiet that made every step sound louder than it should. The receptionist glanced at her briefly, then looked away. Zara walked past without hesitation. She didn't need directions. Her instincts led her. Down the hallway, the air felt heavier. Voices echoed faintly, laughter, low and relaxed. Then she heard it. Tund's voice. Her heart didn't race. It slowed. Each beat deliberate, heavy, as if it was preparing her for something final. She stopped in front of the door. A woman laughed inside. Closer this time. Comfortable. Zara closed her eyes for a second. That was enough. She didn't knock. She didn't open the door. She turned around and walked away. Each step felt heavier than the last, but she didn't stop until she reached her car. The moment the door shut, everything broke. Her breath hitched violently as her hands flew to her mouth. A broken sound escaped her chest before she could stop it. Then the tears came. Fast. Uncontrolled. Shaking her entire body. She bent forward, her forehead pressing against the steering wheel as the pain tore through her. Not just betrayal, but realization. Every memory came rushing back, every time he had said, "I'm busy," every late-night message, every moment she had felt something was wrong but convinced herself otherwise. She wasn't just hurt. She had been deceived. For a long time. Minutes passed. Or maybe longer. Time didn't matter anymore. Her crying slowed gradually, turning into uneven breaths. Then silence. Zara lifted her head slowly. Her eyes were red, her face wet, but something had changed. The pain was still there. But something else had entered. Clarity. She wiped her face slowly, staring straight ahead. "No," she whispered. Her voice was low, but steady. "No more." The words hung in the air, unfamiliar but powerful. "No more tears for him." She repeated it, this time firmer. Her chest rose and fell as she breathed through the last wave of emotion. Then another thought followed. "I won't confront him." Her mind ran ahead, imagining it, the shouting, the denial, the excuses. She knew Tund. He would twist the story, make it sound like a mistake, something small, something forgivable. "No. Not this time. I won't give him that chance." Her fingers tightened slightly around the steering wheel. And then the final decision came. Cold. Sharp. Unshakable. "I won't leave empty-handed." Zara leaned back in her seat, her gaze hardening. 7 years was not something she would walk away from with nothing. Not after everything she had given. Not after everything she had built. If she was going to leave, she would leave on her terms. With power. With control. With something that belonged to her. She started the car. The drive home was quiet, but her mind was alive now, thinking, calculating, planning. By the time she reached the house, she was no longer the same woman who had made that call. She walked inside slowly, dropped her bag, and sat down. Hours passed. The clock ticked. Then the door opened. Tund walked in, loosening his tie, his face relaxed like nothing had happened. "Zara, you're still awake?" he asked casually. She looked at him. Really looked at him. And for the first time in years, she saw him clearly, not as her husband, not as her partner, but as a man who had chosen to betray her without hesitation. She smiled. "Yes," she said softly. "I was waiting for you." Tund smiled back, completely unaware. If you've ever trusted someone this deeply, pause for a second and hit like on this video, it helps more people find stories like this. And if you think you know where this is going, you don't. Because what Zara is about to do next changes everything. She stood up and walked toward him. "Long day?" she asked gently. Tund sighed. "Very. I'm exhausted." She nodded. "Go shower. I'll warm your food." He kissed her lightly on the forehead. And Zara didn't flinch. She watched him walk away. And as the bathroom door closed, her expression changed. The tears were gone. The pain was buried. What remained was something far more dangerous. Silence. The bathroom door shut, and the sound of running water filled the silence. Zara stood still for a moment, staring at that closed door. That door. Just a thin barrier between truth and lies. Between the man she thought she knew, and the one he really was. She exhaled slowly, then turned toward the kitchen. Her movements were calm. Controlled. Almost routine. She opened the pot, stirred the food, adjusted the flame. If anyone saw her, they would think nothing had changed. But everything had. Behind her calm face, her mind was working. Watching. Calculating. Planning. Tund walked out a few minutes later, fresh and relaxed, towel around his neck. "Smells good," he said, dropping into a chair like he had done 1,000 times before. Zara placed the plate in front of him. "Eat before it gets cold." He smiled, picking up his spoon. You're the best. Zara nodded. She didn't respond. She simply sat across from him, watching. Every movement. Every expression. How easily he ate. How comfortably he existed. No guilt in his face. No hesitation in his actions. It was almost impressive. Why are you looking at me like that? Tund asked, laughing lightly. Zara blinked, then gave a small smile. Like what? Like you're studying me. She chuckled softly. Maybe I am. Tund grinned. Find anything interesting? Zara tilted her head slightly. Yes, she said quietly. He laughed again, completely unaware. And in that moment, Zara understood something clearly. This man would lie without blinking. Which meant one thing. She would have to become better at pretending. The next morning, Zara woke up before him. She stood in front of the mirror, staring at her reflection. Her eyes were slightly swollen, but the pain from the night before had settled into something else. Focus. She picked up her makeup brush and began. Not to hide her pain, but to erase evidence of it. By the time she was done, she looked like herself again. Or at least, the version of herself the world expected. Tund walked into the room, stretching. Morning. Morning, she replied, her tone light. He walked over and kissed her cheek. Zara smiled. Perfectly timed. Perfectly placed. No hesitation. No reaction. Inside, she felt nothing. Any plans today? He asked. Zara shrugged. Just the usual. He nodded, grabbing his phone. I might be late again tonight. Of course you will, she thought. But she only said, all right. He left shortly after. The door clicked shut. And Zara's smile disappeared instantly. She walked to the table, picked up her phone, and opened a blank note. Then she started writing. Not emotions. Not complaints. Plans. Step 1, financial awareness. She needed to know exactly what they had. Every account. Every asset. Every hidden expense. Step 2, skill acquisition. If she was going to leave, she needed something of her own. Step 3, timing. She wouldn't move until she was ready. Zara stared at the list. Then she added one more line. Step 4, no mistakes. She locked her phone and sat back. This wasn't about revenge. This was about survival. The days that followed looked normal on the outside. Zara cooked. Cleaned. Smiled. Listened. She became everything Tund expected her to be. But behind that calm routine, she was building something else. At night, when Tund was asleep, or working late, Zara stayed awake. Her phone became her classroom. She researched business ideas. Watched videos. Took notes. One topic kept coming up. Logistics. Supply chain. Movement of goods. It was practical. Scalable. Profitable. Zara leaned back, thinking. It didn't require a huge start. Just knowledge. And discipline. She smiled slightly. That, she had. Weeks passed. Tund started sending her money more frequently. Just in case you need anything, he would say casually. Zara accepted it every time. She didn't question it. She didn't refuse. She simply said, thank you. But instead of spending it, she saved it. Every naira. Carefully. Quietly. Hidden. One evening, Tund walked in smiling at his phone. Zara noticed. She always noticed now. What's making you smile like that? She asked playfully. Just something funny, he replied quickly. Zara nodded. Not with anger. Not with sadness. But with something far more controlled. Detachment. Days turned into weeks. Weeks into months. Zara kept building. Learning. Saving. Observing. She began to understand the business better, how goods moved, how contracts worked, how connections were everything. She started small. Very small. A few contacts. A few deliveries. Nothing that would draw attention. But enough to begin. Each success, no matter how small, fueled her. Not emotionally. Strategically. One afternoon, she received her first payment. It wasn't much. But it was hers. Completely hers. Zara stared at the notification on her phone. Her lips curved into a slow smile. Not wide. Not dramatic. Just enough. I'm getting there, she whispered. Behind her, Tun's voice called out, Zara, where are you? She quickly locked her phone and turned. In the kitchen. Her tone was light. Normal, perfect. She walked back to him, carrying a tray. And as she placed it in front of him, he smiled. Still blind. Still comfortable. Still unaware that the woman sitting across from him was no longer his. And soon, she wouldn't even be in his life at all. Zara closed her notebook slowly, her eyes fixed on the word she had just written. Expansion. It sat there like a challenge. Or a warning. She tapped her pen against the table, thinking. The small jobs were safe. Manageable. Quiet. But small wouldn't get her where she needed to be. Small wouldn't make her independent fast enough. And time was something she could no longer waste. She stood up, pacing slowly across the room. If she was going to expand, she needed more than just effort. She needed presence. She needed to step into spaces she had never entered before. The next morning, Zara did something different. Instead of staying home after Tund left, she dressed up. Not casually. Not comfortably. Intentionally. A fitted outfit. Clean lines. Simple but confident. Her hair pulled back neatly, her face composed. When she looked in the mirror, she didn't see the woman who had cried in the car. She saw someone else. Someone sharper. More focused. More dangerous. She picked up her bag and left. The meeting was at a small office across town. A logistics coordinator had agreed to see her, reluctantly. Zara walked in, her steps steady, her shoulders straight. The man behind the desk barely looked up at first. You're Zara? He asked, his tone uninterested. Yes. He leaned back slightly, studying her now. You're new. It wasn't a question. Zara nodded. Yes. He smirked faintly. This isn't a small game. People lose money here. Zara met his gaze without hesitation. People also make it. The man raised an eyebrow. There was a pause. Then he gestured to the chair. Sit. Zara sat. The conversation wasn't easy. He questioned her experience. Her capacity. Her reliability. Every word felt like a test. But Zara didn't flinch. She answered calmly. Clearly. Directly. No emotion. Just confidence. By the end of the meeting, the man leaned forward slightly. I'll give you a chance, he said. One contract. Zara nodded once. That's all I need. When she walked out of the office, her heart finally reacted. Not wildly. But enough to remind her this mattered. A lot. She got into her car and allowed herself one small smile. Step 4. Had begun. Back at home, everything looked the same. The same couch. The same walls. The same life she was slowly preparing to leave. Tund walked in later that evening, dropping his keys. You've been out? He asked casually. Zara nodded. Just errands. He didn't question it. He never did. That was the problem. That was also her advantage. Days passed, and Zara threw herself into the new contract. This one was bigger. More complex. More risk. More reward. She had to coordinate multiple deliveries across different locations. Timing had to be perfect. Communication had to be flawless. There was no room for error. And the pressure showed. She slept less. Ate less. Thought more. Every detail mattered. One mistake could ruin everything she had built so far. One mistake. And she would be back to nothing. One evening, her phone rang unexpectedly. It was one of the drivers. "Madam, there's a problem," he said quickly. Zara stood up immediately. "What kind of problem?" "The goods. There's a delay. The road is blocked." Her chest tightened slightly. Delay meant penalties. Delay meant loss. "How long?" she asked. "Maybe hours." Zara closed her eyes for a second. "Think. Don't panic. Think. Is there another route?" she asked. "It's longer." "Take it," she said immediately. "Don't stop. Keep me updated every 30 minutes. "Yes, madam." The call ended. Zara stood still, her mind racing. This was it. This was the moment that separated people who failed from people who survived. She picked up her phone again, calling the client. She explained calmly. Clearly. Without panic. She didn't make excuses. She offered solutions. She stayed in control. By the time she ended the call, her hands were slightly tense, but her voice had never wavered. Hours later, the final message came. Delivered. Zara sat down slowly. Relief washed over her. But this time, it felt different. Not just relief. Confidence. She had handled it. A real problem. A real risk. And she didn't break. She adapted. She solved it. She won. Her phone buzzed again. Payment received. Zara looked at the number. Bigger than before. Much bigger. Her lips curved into a slow smile. "I'm not the same anymore," she whispered. Behind her, the door opened. Tund walked in, talking on his phone, laughing. Zara turned to look at him. He looked the same. Moved the same. Spoke the same. But now, the difference between them was clear. He was standing still. And she was moving forward. Fast. That night, they sat together again. Dinner. Routine. Silence filled with small talk. Tund glanced at her. "You've really changed." Zara looked up. "Have I?" He nodded slowly. "You seem stronger." Zara held his gaze. "I am." The way she said it made him pause. Just for a second. But then he smiled it off. "You've always been strong." Zara didn't respond. Because she knew the truth. She hadn't always been strong. She became strong. Because she had no other choice. If you're still here, you're witnessing something powerful, a transformation happening right in front of someone who can't even see it. Go ahead and like this video if you respect Zara's discipline so far. Because what she's about to do next. That's where everything changes. Later that night, Zara stood by the window again, looking out into the dark. Her phone in her hand. Her mind sharp. Her plans clearer than ever. She opened her notes. Updated the list. Step 1, complete. Step 2, strong. Step 3, stable. Step 4, expanding. She paused. Then added something new. Step 5, exit. Zara stared at the word for a long moment. This was it. The beginning of the end. But not yet. Not until everything was perfectly aligned. Not until she was fully ready. Not until walking away would cost her nothing. And cost him everything. She locked her phone. Her reflection stared back at her from the window. Calm. Focused. Unrecognizable. And as she turned away, one thing was clear. Zara wasn't just planning to leave anymore. She was preparing to win. Zara didn't sleep that night. Not because she was worried. But because her mind had reached a place where everything was finally clear. No confusion. No hesitation. Just direction. She sat at the edge of the bed, staring into the darkness while Tun slept beside her, breathing slowly, peacefully, like a man with nothing to lose. Zara looked at him for a long moment. Not with anger. Not even with pain anymore. Just distance. How had she once loved this man so deeply? How had she trusted him with her future, her time, her loyalty? The answer came quickly. Because she believed in him. And now, she believed in herself. Zara stood up quietly and walked into the living room. She picked up her phone and opened her notes. Step 5, exit. She read it again. This wasn't just about leaving the house. This was about leaving a version of her life behind. Completely. Carefully. Permanently. She began typing. Lawyer. Documentation. Assets. Timeline. Each word felt like a step closer to something final. Something irreversible. The next morning, Zara made a call. Good morning, I'd like to book a consultation. Her voice was calm. Professional. Controlled. The lawyer's office was quiet. Zara sat across from a woman who listened more than she spoke. And for the first time, Zara said it out loud. I want a divorce. The word didn't shake her. It didn't hurt. It felt right. The lawyer nodded slowly. Do you have evidence? Zara held her gaze. Enough. Do you want this to be peaceful? Or strategic? Zara didn't hesitate. Strategic. The lawyer's expression shifted slightly. Respect. Understanding. Then we prepare properly, she said. Zara nodded. And just like that, it began. The process was not emotional. It was precise. Documents were gathered. Accounts were reviewed. Legal steps were mapped out. Zara moved through it all with a focus that surprised even her. There were moments, small ones, where memories tried to creep in. Laughter. Shared moments. Old feelings. But she didn't entertain them. She couldn't afford to. Not now. Not when she was this close. Back at home, nothing changed. And that was the most dangerous part. Zara still cooked. Still smiled. Still listened. Still played her role perfectly. Tund remained unaware. Comfortable. Blind. One evening, he walked in holding a small gift bag. For you, he said casually. Zara raised an eyebrow slightly. What's this? Open it. She did. A bracelet. Simple. Elegant. Zara stared at it for a second. Then looked up at him. What's the occasion? He shrugged. Do I need one? Zara smiled. You used to, she said lightly. He laughed, missing the meaning completely. Maybe I'm changing. Zara slipped the bracelet onto her wrist. It fit perfectly. Of course it did. Everything about their life looked perfect from the outside. And that was exactly why it had to end the way she planned. Slowly. Quietly. Decisively. Days passed. Zara finalized everything. The business was stable. Growing. Independent. The legal documents were ready. Signed. Prepared. All that remained was timing. And Zara was very particular about timing. She didn't want drama. She didn't want chaos. She wanted control. So she chose an ordinary day. A Tuesday. No special meaning. No emotional weight. Just another day. That morning, Zara woke up earlier than usual. She stood in front of the mirror, staring at herself. Her face was calm. Her eyes steady. There was no trace of the woman who had broken down in the car months ago. That version of her was gone. Completely. She got dressed slowly. Carefully. Not to impress anyone. But to feel ready. Tund walked into the room, adjusting his shirt. "Morning," he said. "Morning," Zara replied. Their eyes met briefly. Then he looked away. Routine. Familiar. Empty. They had breakfast together. Like always. Small talk. Like always. Nothing unusual. And that was the point. Halfway through the meal, Zara stood up. "I forgot something," she said calmly. Tund nodded, barely paying attention. She walked into the bedroom. Picked up an envelope from the drawer. Held it for a second. Then walked back. Her steps were steady. Her breathing even. Her mind completely still. She placed the envelope on the table in front of him. Tund looked up. "What's this?" Zara sat down slowly. "Open it." He frowned slightly, then picked it up. As he pulled out the documents, his expression changed. Confusion. Then realization. Then shock. "Zara. What is this?" His voice dropped. Zara leaned back slightly. "Freedom," she said. The word landed heavier than anything else she could have said. Tund stared at her, disbelief written all over his face. "Divorce? Are you serious?" Zara didn't blink. "Yes." Silence filled the room. Thick. Heavy. Unavoidable. If you've made it this far, you already know this moment was coming, but the way it happens next? That's what makes this story unforgettable. Make sure you like this video and subscribe. Because the final part is where everything truly shifts. Tund pushed the papers away slightly. No. No, this doesn't make sense. Where is this coming from?" Zara tilted her head slightly. "From the night you stopped being my husband." His face tightened. "What does that mean?" Zara held his gaze. Calm. Unshaken. "It means I know." And just like that, everything changed. Tund stared at her like she had spoken in another language. "What do you mean?" "You know?" he asked slowly, his voice lower now. Zara didn't flinch. She simply reached for her glass of water, took a small sip, and placed it back down with care. "I mean," she said calmly, "I stopped being blind." The silence that followed was different from all the others before it. This one felt final. Tund leaned forward, shaking his head slightly. "Zara, if this is about last night, if someone said something," Zara raised her hand gently. "No," she interrupted. "Don't do that." Her voice wasn't loud. But it cut through everything. No blaming. No rewriting. No explanations that changed nothing. Tund went quiet. For the first time, he looked unsure. Really unsure. Zara continued, her tone steady. "I didn't leave because of one night. I left the moment I realized I was the only one in this marriage." Tund's jaw tightened. "That's not true." Zara smiled faintly. It wasn't a warm smile. It wasn't angry either. It was the kind of smile someone gives when they've already moved on emotionally. "I went to the hotel," she said softly. Tund froze. Zara watched his reaction carefully. Not with pain anymore. With confirmation. "I saw enough," she added. Silence dropped again. Thicker this time. He looked away briefly, then back at her. Zara. I made a mistake. There it was. The line. The expected line. Zara nodded slightly, almost as if she had predicted it word for word. Yes, she said. You did. Tund leaned forward quickly. But people make mistakes. We can fix this. We can talk about it, start over. Zara shook her head once. No. The word was simple. Clean. Final. Tund stopped. For the first time, he didn't have a reply ready. Zara continued, her voice still controlled. You're not hearing me. I'm not angry anymore. I'm not broken anymore. I'm not confused anymore. She paused slightly. I'm done. The room went still. Tund looked at her like he was seeing her properly for the first time. Not the wife he thought he knew. But someone else. Someone distant. Someone unreachable. You can't just end 7 years like this, he said, his voice rising slightly. Zara tilted her head. I didn't end it in one day, she replied. You did that over time. I just finally caught up. That landed harder. Tund leaned back, rubbing his forehead. This is not you, he said quietly. Zara looked at him directly. This is exactly me, she said. You just never paid attention. Silence again. This time, Tund didn't speak immediately. He looked at the papers again. Then at her. Then down. Something in his expression shifted. Panic. You've already planned this, he said slowly. Zara didn't deny it. Yes. That single word changed everything. Because now he understood. This wasn't emotion. This wasn't impulse. This was preparation. He stood up suddenly. Zara, please. We can fix this. I'll change whatever you want me to change. Zara stayed seated. Her voice lowered slightly. You had years. That stopped him mid-motion. You had years to change, she continued. Not when I leave. Tund's shoulders dropped slightly. For the first time, he looked small. Not angry. Not defensive. Just human. I didn't think you would ever leave, he said quietly. Zara nodded slowly. That was your mistake. A long silence followed. The kind where nothing more needed to be said. Tund sat back down slowly. His voice came out softer now. So that's it? Zara stood up. She picked up her bag. Yes. She paused for a second, looking at him one last time. Not with hatred. Not with love. Just closure. I hope you understand one thing, she said. Tund looked up slightly. Zara continued. I didn't destroy this marriage. A pause. I simply stopped saving it alone. She turned toward the door. Tund didn't follow. Didn't speak. Didn't stop her. Because something in him finally understood. She was already gone. Even before she walked out. Zara stepped outside into the bright morning air. For a moment, she just stood there. Still. Breathing. Then she exhaled slowly. Not relief. Not sadness. Just release. Days later, she moved into a new apartment. Small. Quiet. Peaceful. No memories in the walls. No echoes in the rooms. Just space. Zara stood in the middle of it, holding a simple box of her belongings. Her phone buzzed. A message from her business contact. New contract confirmed. She stared at it for a moment. Then smiled. This time, it reached her eyes. Weeks passed. Her logistics business grew steadily. Clients increased. Operations expanded. Her name began circulating in small business circles. Not as someone's wife. But as someone who built something from nothing. One evening, she sat in her new office space, reviewing files. A young woman knocked and entered. "Ma, I just wanted to say. Your story is inspiring. Starting from scratch like this." Zara looked up. For a moment, she didn't respond. Then she said quietly, "It wasn't starting from scratch." The woman tilted her head. Zara leaned back slightly. "It was starting from pain." A pause. Then she added, "and turning it into power." She closed the file gently. Outside, the city moved as usual. Unaware. Unbothered. But Zara wasn't the same person who had once cried in a car outside a hotel. That woman had ended. And something new had taken her place. Stronger. Clearer. Unshaken. And finally, free. If you watched this story until the end, don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop a comment, because stories like this remind us that sometimes the end of one life is the beginning of another, and you never know who might need this message today.